Tim Petrowich here for Dateline Marion, and again we're visiting this week with Marion head football coach Kerry Martin. And Coach, a big win for the Wildcats last week, 56-12 over Mount Vernon, and brings your record even at 2-2. And more importantly, you know, if we look back at last year and where you were sitting heading into the, or you're 3-2 rather, I'm sorry, where you were sitting heading into the sixth week of the season last year, it was 2-3 with a tough game against Althoff. So you have to feel a lot better about where you're at so far this year.
Definitely feel better. The two teams we've lost to are both still undefeated, and we thought they were really good teams, and still wish you'd have beat them. Still wish you'd have played a little better and not had the turnovers that we had. But you know, I mean, if you're going to lose ball games, make it to a couple of undefeated teams that are still state ranked, and hopefully you get better as you play those kinds of teams, and we think we have. But we got Althoff, and they're going to be a tough opponent coming off of what I think a lot of people saw was an upset loss to Centralia, and so they'll be hungry to get back on the field and try to correct that.
We want to talk about Althoff in just a minute, but first we want to talk about the game last week. And the one thing you always want to do, especially against Mount Vernon, because you've had some games where you didn't do that, is get out and get in the lead and make them play catch up. And you did, essentially were able to do that. You scored twice in the first quarter on your first two possessions, and then you were up 28-0 before they got a score. And you know, even though they scored twice and kind of put a little pressure on you in the first half, you know, it's still 42-12 at halftime, and you were able to basically be in control for most of the rest of the game.
Yeah, you're right. Getting out ahead of teams like Mount Vernon is very important, you know, and if you let a team hang around, things get more complicated. And because their confidence changes, the momentum can change on. You got to be very careful. And you and I had talked before that several years ago, a winless Mount Vernon team had come in here and gave us a battle. And we knew they were better than their record because they had lost to a bunch of good football teams. But giving that team confidence is dangerous, and because we thought they could move the ball a little bit. They have a good quarterback and a good set of receivers, and Coach Goodhart is taking this young squad, and he's shown a lot of improvement. But the big thing for us is the fact that we went out and took care of business, and we played pretty good football, got a lot of kids involved, a lot of touches from a lot of people, and didn't make a lot of mistakes, didn't have a lot of turnovers, didn't have a lot of penalties, so a lot of things we can be proud of in that game.
You talk about a lot of people touching the ball, and we did the math. 8 different people, 8 different ball carriers, 6 different people caught passes, and I really think, and most impressively, you had some really solid offensive performances from Rico Williams, from Bastion. Clayton Bastion, couldn't think of his name, sorry about that. And a couple nice runs from Moses Mays, so you got a little bit of depth in that running back position now.
Yeah, it was good to see that, you know, and we need that depth right now. And we're training some other guys to get some reps there. Drake Bravad had a nice touchdown run. So, you know, it was just good to see a number of guys getting involved in what we're doing and making plays. And David did some things with his legs, and David's done a lot with his arm this year, but hadn't done a lot with his leg. The last 2 weeks he's got 4 touchdowns on the ground, so that's a good sign.
Now, that's something I wanted to ask about, because that's an aspect of the offense that we've known is there, but it's the first time we're really starting to see it is in the last couple games especially.
Yeah, David came through the program and was not, how can I say it kindly, not real fleet of foot his freshman and sophomore year, but you know, David's an athlete. He trains very hard in the off season. He's a basketball player, which is great. And you know, the fact that his feet have gotten better, and he's worked hard in the weight room, and he's been through our agility program, and doesn't miss a workout ever. So I think that's paid off, and now there's a facet of his game that wasn't there before that he's now added, and that's made him a more complete football player, and gives us another weapon that we've needed the last couple of weeks.
And I've seen this on a couple of the runs, in particular the touchdown run against Cahokia, but even in a couple of runs against Mount Vernon. It's not, because you said he's not fleet of foot, he's breaking tackles and knocking people over.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, you know, he's got decent speed, he's got good speed, not an Isaac Baker type quarterback, keep fast, but not many guys are going to be like that, but maybe not even as quick as Jake was last year, Jake Schmidt, but I still think he's got good speed, and he runs hard, and he's a strong runner. He's strong in the weight room, and I think those things have paid off for David, making him, as I said, a more complete player.
Talk about the receivers, because Jaden is Jaden, and he had 4 catches for 140 yards and a long touchdown among those. But we keep mentioning guys that we don't see a whole lot of. Adam Erb is one of them who always seems to make 2 or 3 important catches in a game. Not very big yards, but always a big catch on a 3rd or 4th down situation, or something like that. And then Clayton Bastion out of the backfield with a nice catch in the game last week,
you're right. Clayton continues to get better and better as a football player, and one of the greatest, most satisfying things about coaching is seeing where a player begins and where they grow into, what they grow into, and who they grow into. And Clayton's one of those players that really has come a long way from where he was as an incoming player in our program, and he's really blossomed. And just every week he does some things that really, surprise us as he gets better and better. And Clayton knows he got some things he's still got to improve on, but man, he's come a long way. Adam Erb has become a very reliable receiver, as you mentioned, a guy that we can go to in any situation and feel confident he can make a catch. We're getting some guys involved. James Bittner's made some nice catches over the last 5 games, and so just good to see more guys getting involved, giving more weapons, spreading the ball out. If they do want to double somebody or roll the coverage to somebody, other guys can make some things happen. And hopefully this week we'll get another good receiver back, Dylan Cannell. And that could be another good weapon for us.
Couple of things that you pointed out that kind of bothered you a little bit. One of them was that for the 4th week in a row now, or 3rd week in a row, you've had a quarterback who has been able to do some things with his feet. Started with the Highland game, of course, the Cahokia quarterback, and now Nick Malone this past week had a pretty nice game running the ball and throwing the ball in certain situations. And I know that it was things that happens the first time you spend a lot of time working on them, happens the second time you work harder on them, and the 3rd time in a row. It's some things that I think bothered you after the game.
Yeah, well, big plays are going to be created by some of these quarterbacks when they get out of the pocket, and they get out and they're able to create, and the coverages then break down, and it becomes, you attack the quarterback as he moves to the edge, and suddenly you come off coverage to do that, and then if you don't come off the coverage, he runs for a 1st down or more, and now you're talking about tackling good athletes in space, which we saw with Malik Shaw. It was difficult. And we're going to face some good running quarterbacks this week and next week. And I think Carbondale's quarterback is pretty mobile. So it's not like that's it. We faced all the mobile quarterbacks we're going to face, and the most mobile of all is coming in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to make sure we're doing a better job of taking what we practice during the week and putting that on the field, and not getting tired and letting those things break down. And I see it every week on TV. I watch quarterbacks break containment and make plays running around, and that's what's makes the job of defensive coordinators so much difficult than in years previously, because the quarterbacks are now part of the running game, passing game, the sprint out game, the screen game, and quarterbacks have become so multifaceted that I think it's put a lot of pressure on defenses.
Apparently they got a little bit of the message in the second half, because after he scored, they got those 2 first-half touchdowns. The first defense, the second defense, and even some of the 3rd defense was able to hold Mount Vernon scoreless in the second half.
We did a much better job at the adjustments, and it helps when you've got a big lead, but I just thought the kids did a nice job of listening to the coaches at halftime and going out and finishing the job the right way, and not letting Mount Vernon get any more confidence than they did.
The drive that put you up by 40 plus and got the running clock going was a drive with the 2nd unit offense in, and they just marched it down the field like they've been in there the whole season.
Yeah, it was good. I love to see that. We always tell the kids that you're a starter when you're in the game playing, and so we always think of the starters as the guys that start the game. But in our mind, you're a starter if you're on the field playing on a given play. So we consider those guys to be our starting offense, because at that moment, that place, the ball snapped, they started the play, and we expect them to go in and perform, and we want them to expect out of themselves, and not just, well, we're here to get Jaden out of the game and finish the clock off. No, get in the ball game, execute the offense, execute the defense, make tackles, make blocks, make catches, and score. And I love when our kids go out and do that. It was great to see.
Let's talk about Althoff, the 3rd ranked team on your schedule. They were ranked as high as number 2 in Class 4A before they lost last week to Centralia. I haven't seen this week's rankings yet. But a very good football team,
Very good.
Particularly on the defensive side of the
Sure.
ball. We've seen that they're not giving up a whole lot on defense. Their offense maybe not as good as it's been in years past, but it's Althoff, and they always seem to bring a quality team.
They will. Yeah, they're good. I mean, their defensive line is very good. Their offensive line has a D1 player going to the University of Illinois, and they got quality kids on both sides of the ball, and it's been that way every year since I've been here, and I'm sure years before I came here. And they have a lot of tradition. They were my first playoff game as a head coach in 1990 when I was at Sparta, and they won the state title that year. So at the beginning of my career, I saw Althoff, and here at the end of my career, I'm still seeing Althoff. So, they're just a good program, well coached, a lot of tradition, and they expect to win. And we're going to have to play a really good ball game to stay with them. And we can't make turnovers. We've got to execute, got to be physical, because they play. And we had a nice run of several years in a row beating them, and which is pretty rare because teams don't have long winning streaks against Althoff. And we have a lot. We feel, and we're very proud of that 8-year winning streak, because teams don't beat Althoff 8 years in a row. I mean, I don't care who they play. They're just a good program. So we feel good about that streak because of who it's against. And last 2 years they've gotten us, and we had a good battle last year for 3 quarters, and they were better than us personnel-wise, and we knew that going in, but that doesn't mean you can't win the game, and we gave them a good battle. So I expect a battle again this year.
This year's team may be different than in years past, a little more heavy on the run than on the pass. I think their offensive stats are a little more than 2-to-1 favor of the run. Then again, with some of the games they've had, maybe they haven't had to pass that much.
Maybe so. Maybe they haven't passed much in the second half as they got big leads on people. You never know about those things. But I don't think they're quite as good at the passing side. At least they haven't been or haven't had to. But they've got weapons. They've got receivers that can catch. They've got a quarterback that can throw it. And certainly the run game is their strong suit. And I think the strongest part of their defense is their defensive line. I think their defensive line is very good.
You people who are watching this will notice that I'm wearing pink.
Yeah.
And of course, this has become not only for the football, but this has annually become a very important game. As this Friday is the Pink Out game, and talk a little bit about that and how that's kind of become a tradition now with Wildcat football and the response to cancer awareness and helping people in the district who are battling cancer.
Well, really, the idea for this, I just borrowed it from SIU. SIU was doing a fundraiser, jerseys they were selling over there years ago, and one of their outstanding players who had been coaching here for a while, Mike McElroy, began that tradition at SIU, and we just borrowed it straight from Mike, and called him, and I made some notes and took it to my people, took it to Mike Shornack, and at that time Holly Boyd and some others said, can we do this? And the community jumped on board, and we started selling jerseys with cancer survivor, victim of cancer, or someone on the back, and people purchase the jerseys, and our players wear them, and it can be our players can wear something from their family or from someone else's family. And Petrowich has been it's been an awesome thing to be a part of, to see the amount of money raised. I think the emotional level of the game is different. I know I've worn the jersey with my father's name on it, who passed away to cancer. I'm wearing my mom's name on the back of my jersey this year, who passed away to cancer in March of this year. My wife's husband, my father-in-law, Reggie Harbin, we had his jersey one year worn by one of the players, I believe. So it's one of those things, the game becomes really personal, I think, and then the football really becomes too personal because it's a game and you're playing another town and this and that. But when you see the name of someone from the community in the back of that jersey, it takes on special meaning. And we remind the kids that if you don't know whose name that is in the back of your jersey, you're wearing it in honor or memory of someone in the crowd, remember that to that person, that is the most important person in their life, or it very well could be. And you got to wear that with pride and play with pride and honor that jersey and honor the life of that person that you're wearing. And it's just become a really neat experience. We've been able to raise a lot of money and help a lot of people who are battling cancer. We've got a scholarship fund that some of the money goes into that we can help beyond the game. It has just been, we've raised thousands of dollars, and Joni Manfredo right now is a big spearhead of this whole thing right now, and just has done an amazing job with it. So yeah, we're pretty proud of this whole Pink Out thing. And the good thing too is we've had a lot of schools come to us and say, tell us how you did it. And we've been able to share that with other high schools, and they've been able to do the same thing, because it's all about just helping people. And the battle of cancer can be a tough, lonely, sometimes very private and very personal matter. And sometimes people don't realize the financial burden that comes just in the exterior of that. You've got gas money and meal money and just peace of mind money. So I think we're able to help people out with that.
Well, and if you look at how it's evolved, and people may or may not know this, if you think back to the first one, I think they raised a little more than $4,000. I think it was like a little more than $2,000 to each of two different people who benefited.
Right.
And now the annual, I think last year it was like between $12,000 and $15,000, and it just continues to grow, and the community steps up and has greater support of it.
They do, and we've got financial support from the hospital, and we've got financial support from different groups, and just to see them step in and say, how can we help, and make donations, and my goodness, that goes a long way, because then what you're charging for that jersey can go straight to the people that are going to receive the benefit from it. And we have a limit how much we can give per person that we can help, but it's it could be a few $1,000s a person, and that goes a long way sometimes when you're off of work and you're dealing with the extra costs that are involved. And having been through that twice with my own parents, I know the financial burden it can bring to a family, and when you're away from work and you just can't do the things you normally do. But yeah, it's a great night, and I love it because as a coach, and I know as fans, we sometimes lose perspective. Mm-hmm. We sometimes get so wrapped up in the game and winning and losing, and it becomes this out of context experience. And I am so glad that on Pink Out night, you're able to put football where it belongs, in a better place.
Well, it doesn't hurt. You mentioned a couple weeks ago that the Wildcats are undefeated on Pink Out night.
Oh, we still want to win the game.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but it's nice to have that perspective kept. That what we do is important as a football team and a football coach, but what other people are battling and going through or have gone through far exceeds what we do out on that field on Friday. So it's a good night.
Here at Marion, 7 o'clock Friday night, it's Pink Out night. Belleville Althoff is in town to play the Wildcats. That's Marion head football coach Kerry Martin. For Dateline Marion, I'm Tim Petrowich.